The ultimate glow up. I have to tell you that the first time when I saw that title and thought about it, it's like, well, what is a glow up? And we'll get to that. But let's just think about in today's world when a glow up is a transformation. And so in today's world, um, it's even more prominent to me that this one of the things that for me and everything I've learned that really causes our human condition that we're in is a feeling of separation from our friends, from our family, from and ultimately it's from that power and presence that we call so many things. And right in this moment, I'll call it God. It's that feeling that we're there's not that source of all that is, and it can extend out to feeling separate from everything else. And social media has really been able to contribute to this. If we just take our cell phones, how many of us have our faces buried in our cell phones to the exclusion of all else around us? I mean, there's even apps now that can remind you that you've been on your cell phone too long and to help you connect with the rest of the world. I remember last time I was up visiting my oldest granddaughter. She was telling me she's like 11 years old. So when she is at her mother's house, that she and her sister, who's 3 years older than her, will sit there and text to each other rather than talk to each other. And I'm like, what? No, they're sitting across the room from each other and they're texting rather than talking. And that can happen to us. And when we look at social media just in general, it allows us, it gives us many opportunities to be in a state of comparison of what I am not, of what I should be, of what's trending, what's cool these days, and to decide whether I'm of that or not. It can change our behaviors. It can do all kinds of things, but there's also some really positive things that it will do. And what it can do is that we can learn more about each other. We can even learn about different cultures. We can even make friends with people that we would not have necessarily met had we not been on some social media site. So there are some positives too, and it offers us opportunities today. And now you're probably sitting there going, "Oh, that's really interesting, Jackie, but what the heck does that have to do with spiritual growth?" Well, the term glow up actually comes from the hip hop genre of music, and it became very popular in on social media to mean, and it's actually in dictionary.com, so you can go look this up if you want, if you think I'm totally crazy. It's an informal term that's used to talk about positive personal transformation. And typically it's involves significant changes in your appearance and style, but it can also mean the growth of your confidence and maturity. And in this time, I would be talking about it as our spiritual transformation, as our spiritual growth. When we've had a breakthrough and we just start, life just changes and in our meditation this morning, Katrina had us think of something that brought real joy to us, and then expand that 5 times, and then 50 times, and then 100 times. And that's the glow up. That's the glow that we're talking about right now. And so then, so okay, Jackie, so what's the ultimate glow up? Well, the ultimate glow up is when we embody love and peace. And it is so ingrained in our being. It's not that we have brought it in, it's that we have exposed it, that peace and love that we truly are, that both Pam Grout and Ernest Holmes were talking about today. in the reading is that we have it so embodied, so ingrained that our response to all of our challenges comes from that place. It comes from that place of love and peace. And as Ernest Holmes says, that this light, this light and peace that we are is so radiant that it just dissipates fear and hate and confusion. And so I'm going to take you, excuse me, back to some early, when I first came into this teaching in the early 2000s. I had been a spiritual seeker for what, a couple decades by that time, and I tried all kinds of things, and I've been I was raised Catholic. I've been a Presbyterian. I've been an Anglican. I've been, yeah, I've Native American. I did almost all of it. I didn't get into the yogic piece of it until later. But when I got my job took me to California and I came into this teaching, kicking and screaming, by the way. No, no, I don't want to go to church. No way. But I did, and I never left. Um, During a guided meditation, and I don't remember the guided meditation, what we were being guided, what the intent of it was. All I remember is my reaction, what I got from that. And as we were exploring our inner self, what I saw was this beautiful, beautiful crystal, like a quartz crystal that just glowed from the inside out. And as we continued to explore that, what I saw was things getting put, like mud and dirt and concrete, and just, I won't go into it all, but you can imagine that, just things that would lessen the amount of light that came out of that. And what I realized in doing that is that was, each of us have that inner light within us. And our once we go on to this, once we wake up, once we realize that there's something more to us, and we go on this spiritual journey, what our job is to remove that which obscures the light. And it's interesting because I love how the universe works, how God works. Because as I was thinking about that, I ran across a quote from Ernest Holmes. And it's from a collection of his works called Light. And it says, "There is a light at the center of everyone. This light is never obliterated, but it does seem that it is often obscured by various reasons." And that's what I was seeing. I was seeing that obscured light. And so as we go on this spiritual journey, and you can think of it as many ways. There's the analogy of the onion. And you're peeling off the layers of the onion. There's the analogy of an artichoke. If you've ever eaten an artichoke and you pick it off leaf by leaf, it can take a while to get down to the heart of it, the yummiest part. And then there's another one of a spiral, that our spiritual growth is an upward spiral, and that we come back to the same situation, the same shadow, if you will, for us to look at, because we're looking at it from a different set of eyes. We're looking at it from a different perspective. And we continue to grow. And every time we do that, that is a glow up. As we strip away what Don Miguel Ruiz called our domestication, as we strip away that which has obscured this crystal, that this inner light, we have a glow up because we glow more. And as we do that, it has a ripple effect everywhere. And there was a time that Centers for Spiritual Living had its glow up, had a glow up. Still, I mean, it continues, but organizations can do that too. Ernest Holmes reluctantly started a spiritual organization back, I don't know, Dr. Trish can confirm this, but back a long time ago, because Science of Mind, the book that we use, It was written in like 1936. Um, and he started this organization reluctantly. And in 1954, there was some disagreement on an organizational administrative, how do we do this? And so the organization split into two organizations, which was the United Church of Religious Science and Religious Science International. That was in 1954. And I believe when I came into this teaching back in 2004 timeframe, I was already hearing, and I had no idea about it, but I kept hearing about this um, coming back together. And in 2012, this organization came back together. And I mention this because it took a lot of deep healing, not because of any differences in what we teach, what we believe, but in how you present it, how you do it. And it took a lot of healing, and we came together, and we're still together, and we became centers for spiritual living at that point in time. And we've moved forward, and we've had a glow up, and we continue to have a glow up. And so then it's like, okay, that's really interesting, Jackie. Why are you even talking about that? Because we here at Centers for Spiritual Living Metro are in that state again, where we are, we've been in, uh, Dr. Trish will, I'm sure, shake her head. We have been for several years since the pandemic. Who are we now? What are we now? And we're in that state of still, who and what are we? And what we are is we're ready to move and become a greater expression of the peace and love that each and every one of us who come here on Sunday, who actively participate, who come to our classes, we are here to collectively glow up and bring this teaching, spread this, allow a ripple effect that is more than just one pebble being thrown into the pond. So let's go back to a glow up, because what we're talking about here is what leads up to a glow up is transformation. It's transformation. And we often, when we experience a glow up, we've had to release old behaviors or habits. We've had to move out of our comfort zone. I know right now I am doing some shadow work because I've just been in this discord, and that's part of what tells us it's time to do some work. As you feel out of alignment, you feel this discord, you feel something happening, and as we grow spiritually, we start to recognize that this spiritual discord that we're feeling means it's time to go back. We're on that spiral up. And I only use up because, that to me means I'm growing. It could be any way. It could be sideways. It doesn't matter. It means it's time to move on. And there is this fear of the unknown. What's going to happen? What's going to happen if I go through this transformation? Who will I be? What will I be? Can I even do it? And so what I think of when I think of this is the caterpillar. Think of a caterpillar. They all they know how to do is crawl around and eat yummy stuff. And then one day they don't feel like eating anymore. If you've ever read Eric Carl's work about the caterpillar, you can get that sense. They eat, gorge themselves, and then don't feel like eating anymore. And that's when it all starts to begin. And I know in my experience and what I have, seen and heard and teach is that's when we realize we have to stop feeding the red wolf, if you remember that analogy. And if you don't, just very quickly, young man talking, young Native American on a quest with his grandfather and says, I see two wolves. One is white, one is red. The red wolf wants to fight and the white wolf wants to find a peaceful solution. Which one is right? Which one will win? And his grandfather tells him it's the one you feed. And so when we realize we need to stop feeding that red wolf, we realize we're in that transformation period. When we realize, when we feel that discord, and it can show up as emotionally, it can show up physically, it can show up in many, many ways. That's when we begin this transformation. And what the caterpillar does is it hangs upside down while it is in transformation. And when you think about it, a lot of times when we are in transformation, it feels like our whole life has been turned upside down. That we are like 180 degrees from where we have been. And then the caterpillar starts to spin the chrysalis around it. And that's when we, in our transformation, we can go deeply into spiritual healing in the silence. And I would strongly suggest, and I do this, I've done this myself, I am doing this myself, is to find that person who can help us through this if we need that. And we have some incredible spiritual practitioners as part of this organization who can help you through spinning that chrysalis. And then what happens to the caterpillar is it breaks down into a soup, a goo that actually contains some cells that are called imaginal cells that are ready there, that are there. They already have it within them. And these cells are ready to make wings and antenna and everything for the butterfly, the right colors, everything. And it's not until it goes into this soup that those imaginal cells can structure themselves into this new structure. And that's for us when we break down and we reform ourselves. That's where someone like a spiritual practitioner can help us get through that, not do it for us. Because if you've ever watched a butterfly come out of its chrysalis, if you do anything to help it, if you try to do it for the butterfly will die. It can't spread its wings. So if you ever see a butterfly struggling to get out of its chrysalis, you leave it, you just sit there and hold the space. And that's what practitioners do. They don't tell you what to do. They hold the space for you and guide you. And the big thing is, while during this transformation is the resting to prepare for the flight of your new self, your glow up. Because what happens is when that butterfly breaks out of the chrysalis and spreads those wings and let them dry in the sun and takes off, if you've ever been there to see that, it is just absolutely incredible. You know, that's one of the reasons that many kindergarten and first grade teachers will get the little monarch butterfly kit where you sit there and you watch the caterpillars go into their chrysalis and be there and hold that space for them while they change, and allow these little children to watch this butterfly come out of its shell. And so our glow up allows us to serve as an example of the power of doing this work, of the spiritual healing. And it is our decision to commit to our own healing that will inspire others. And what happens is when we glow up, we create a ripple effect around the world. It goes out to where we have no idea where it goes because we don't know who else we inspire by allowing ourselves to transform. Again, think of the butterfly. It flies, monarch butterflies travel thousands and thousands of miles. I used to love it when I was at school in Atlanta, Georgia, during the fall, sitting up in the bleachers during a football game. I was way more interested in watching the monarch butterflies because it was right on their path to go to Mexico, and watching this. It was just incredible. Thousands and thousands of monarch butterflies. And we can be those thousands of monarch butterflies that inspire people to join us. There's a philosopher. His name is, I want to get this right, Matshona Diliweo. He wrote a book called The Little Book of Inspiration. And this is just so beautiful. It says, when you have light in your mind, you shine. When you have light in your heart, you glow. When you have light in your soul, you rise. And so if you're here today listening to this, or if you're listening it to later on our YouTube channel, you are on a journey. You are on the journey of the ultimate glow up. Because what I know is everyone who is here was here by divine appointment. And so if you're here today, you are on this path, and it is your choice whether to take that path or not. And I encourage you to take this path of the ultimate glow up. I encourage you to take this journey to embody love and peace to the point where that is where we live from, where we no longer feel or even have that concept of separation from anyone else, and no, there's no feeling of separation from source. So as we embody this, as we walk on this path together, we support each other. And not only do we create a ripple effect, when we do it together, we can create a whole tsunami. We can create that allowing not just us, along with us, allowing all of those around us to embody the radiant love and peace that we are. That love and peace that dispels fear, that dispels division, that dispels confusion, and that we can uplift each other. So I keep wanting to use the word challenge. My opportunity for you this week is to just take a moment to reflect on your own glow up. Think about times, whether it was a spiritual glow up or whatever it was. Maybe it was learning a new skill and finally getting to that point where it's like, I've got it. I can do this. I don't even have to think about it anymore. That just caused you to glow up. Think about, as Katrina led us in our meditation this morning, of what brought you such joy that you just glowed from inside out, and multiply that by, we'll start with 5. And then go to 10, and then go to 50, and then go to 100, and then an infinite number of times. And what I would like each of us to remember, and I include myself in this, that I am a brilliantly luminous being. That is my nature. That is who I really am. And so before I go into prayer, I found in the 1928 edition of Science of Mind, something that Ernest Holmes wrote, and it's called The Inner Light. The inner light of heaven shines through me and illumines my path. The light eternal is my guide and my protection. In that light, there is no darkness at all. It is a perfect light shining from the altar of a perfect love. O light and love within me, thou art welcome. Light shines through me and illumines the way. And so I invite you, if you choose to just close your eyes or maybe cast your gaze down, to let go of the video, the visual stimulation around us, and just go within for a moment. And let me tell you what I know is true. What I know is true is that there is a power and a presence that is greater than anything that I could ever imagine. I know that it is a power and that this power and presence is love. It is love in all of its many facets of peace and joy, harmony, beauty and light. I know that this is what creates, animates, and sustains all that exists everywhere. And therefore, creating from itself as itself, it creates all that is. And I cannot even describe the joy and gratitude that I feel when I recognize that that is me. And that is each and every one of us right now in this moment. We are created of love, of peace, of joy, of light. And so, what I claim for each of us, I accept for each of us right now in this moment, is this light of heaven that shines through me and illumines my path. For what I know is when I speak this word, I know that there is only one, no matter how many are on this, are listening to this right now, there's only one existing in all of its beautiful multiplicity. And so I speak this word, that this light is my guide and my protection. This light illumines so that there is no darkness anywhere. It brings harmony, it brings clarity, it brings health, it brings wholeness, it brings that full understanding of oneness to each and every one. And so as I just relish this, as I speak this word, as I know this truth and say it out loud, I know that it already is. For there is the idea in the mind of God that is manifest in each and every one of us. As I have said many times, God woke up one day and created me, created each of us, everyone, you, whoever you are, this person who is listening right now, and created joy and love and peace to walk this earth. And so in this deep gratitude, in this joy, in this elated state of excitement and anticipation of all that is to come, I let this word go out into that loving hand of the law to allow it to come into its fullness in form. And so I let go and I let it be, and so it is.